Which of the following would you guess is not true? There are 2 correct statements and 1 false one. A. Taiwan has 0 heavily polluted beaches as of June. B. A carriage horse in New York City dropped dead this week. Or C. A teenager stabbed 3 rodeo horses in a Las Vegas barn early June. Keep listening to Formosa Fauna to find out which is which. Spend the next 20 minutes feeding your brain with Formosa Fauna so you can become smarter than all of your friends. Every Friday is Formosa Fauna Friday. Hello, I'm Tristan, the voice of Formosa Fauna. I love animals and I love talking about them. If you're even remotely curious about anything in the animal kingdom, you're in the right place. On today's agenda, we're going to talk about, I would call them wannabe influencers that invaded the very famous Punch the Monkey's enclosure in Japan. We're also going to talk about Taiwan's most polluted beaches, carriage horses in New York City, and horse stabbings in Las Vegas. Let's dive right in. Security measures are being tightened at a zoo near Tokyo after an individual entered the enclosure of Punch, a viral macaque that has gained widespread attention online, reported on this week by Rebecca Cohen with NBC News. So the zoo is called Ichikawa City Zoo. And in the past, we brought up Punch the Monkey because he gains a lot of support online because he was seen getting, harassed or bullied by his fellow macaques in the zoo. And his only companion was a cute stuffed animal from IKEA. So he overnight became a sensation and everybody has been rooting for him. The zoo also has staff, I think every day, giving us updates on how Punch the Zoo is doing and whether or not he's been making friends. So, very famous macaque we're talking about. And the zoo said Sunday that police detained 2 people following the intrusion. The zoo described the incident in a social media post, saying an intruder had entered the monkey enclosure. Afterwards, staff conducted safety inspections of the animals and reported that none showed signs of injury or other problems. The zoo said no abnormalities had been observed, but added that additional countermeasures would be introduced. Ooh, okay, I want to talk about that. Beginning Tuesday, the facility plans to expand the restricted viewing zone surrounding the enclosure, install intrusion prevention nets, and conduct continuous patrols. Photos and videos circulating online appeared to show a person dressed in a bright blue suit and wearing a smiley face mask climbing over a fence before jumping into the zoo grounds. So, my sources have told me that this was conducted by 2 people. One of them climbed into the enclosure and the other one was responsible for shooting the video. And the video was supposed to be for an online competition of sorts that had a prize of $1 million for first place. It goes without saying that they did not win the $1 million. And the organization who held the competition actually ended up making a donation to the zoo after they heard the news. This has not gone over well, of course, with the Punch the Monkey fans because these additional countermeasures are likely to impede the view or restrict access to the enclosure that people would have normally had, like a closer, clearer view of the monkeys. And although the monkeys were not injured, thank goodness, they all saw the intruder climbing into their enclosure, and sort of as a whole group of monkeys just ran the other direction. Sort of traumatic for them. Despite thousands of volunteers participating in beach cleanups across Taiwan each year, environmental groups say many of Taiwan's most polluted coastlines continue to be overlooked. Sean Scanlon with Taiwan News reports that ahead of World Ocean Day, conservation organizations warned that cleanup efforts remain concentrated at a relatively small number of easily accessible sites, leaving dozens of heavily littered beaches with limited support. That is also supported by CNA reports. Data from the Ministry of Environment shows that more than 10,000 beach cleanup events have been organized annually in recent years, drawing roughly 170,000 participants each year. However, the ministry's most recent coastal survey found that Changhua, Yunlin, Jiayi, and Tainan collectively accounted for 37% of Taiwan's marine debris. The Kaohsiung-Pingtung coastline represented 11%, while Taiwan's outlying islands made up another 11%, including 12% in Jinmen or Kinmen and 9% in Matsu. Meanwhile, statistics from the ministry's Salute to the Sea cleanup initiative indicated that Taoyuan received the greatest number of cleanup applications last year, with 4 of the country's most popular cleanup locations. New Taipei, Kaohsiung, and Taichung each had 2 sites among the top destinations. None of the West Coast counties identified as needing additional cleanup efforts appeared among the top 10 most frequently visited locations. The Taiwan Rethinking Environmental Education Association project manager, named Cai Shengyan, said that the locations for beach cleanups are too concentrated, leading to an uneven distribution of resources. Tsai said practical concerns often influence where cleanup activities are held. Organizers tend to prioritize beaches with convenient transportation links, parking spaces, restroom facilities, and enough room to accommodate large groups of volunteers. To draw attention to neglected shorelines, Rethink partnered with the Scout Association to assess 146 beaches nationwide. The survey results were used to produce a national dirty coastline map. That sounds funny. National Dirty Coastline Map, identifying 50 beaches in need of additional cleanup efforts. The map categorizes sites as clean, decent, or dirty, and evaluates whether volunteer activities could improve conditions. Chen Renping, chief executive of Hin Studio, which arranges corporate cleanup events, said organizers adapt site selection according to the size and makeup of participating groups. Smaller teams made up of mainly adults are more likely to be assigned to remote beaches where pollution levels are severe. He added that some initiatives now incorporate longer walking routes before participants reach the shore, allowing volunteers to collect more waste along the way. Other coastlines remain difficult to include in cleanup campaigns. Chen pointed to Waimushan in Keelung and industrial waterfront areas in Linkou, saying challenging terrain and complicated access routes often discourage participation. In an effort to improve coverage, Rethink has expanded cooperation with local partners. Tsai said the organization trained 9 beach cleanup leaders last year and established working relationships with 6 community groups capable of providing support on the ground. One partnership focused on Feng Chui Sha Beach in Pingtung County, where large amounts of marine debris have accumulated because of the area's isolated location. Rethink worked with a nearby dive shop whose operators depend on maintaining a healthy marine environment. According to the organization, this localized approach has helped redirect volunteers and corporate funding toward high-priority sites. The amount of waste removed from severely polluted beaches has increased from 6,842 kilograms in 2024 to 10,410 kilograms in 2025. The death of a carriage horse in Central Park in New York City has reignited a long-standing debate over whether the city should prohibit horse-drawn carriage rides, according to Ed Shanahan with the New York Times. Police say the horse collapsed this Tuesday evening after apparently suffering a medical episode. The cause of death has not yet been determined. Within hours of the incident, animal welfare advocates renewed their calls for the city to end the carriage trade. Christopher Marty, a Democratic City Council member representing Manhattan, said he intends to reintroduce legislation this week that would ban the industry after a previous attempt failed during the council's last term. Marty and Julie Capiello, president of the advocacy group Voters for Animal Rights, issued a joint statement arguing that the horse's death was a call for reform. They said, "Horses are living beings who deserve dignity and compassion. They should not be forced to navigate the noise, traffic, and demands of New York City streets." End quote. The proposal, known as Ryder's Law, RYDER's Law, is named after a horse that collapsed on Hell's Kitchen Street in 2022 and was later euthanized. Last July, Ryder's driver was acquitted by a jury of animal cruelty charges connected to the incident. Meanwhile, the carriage industry has consistently opposed efforts to outlaw the practice. Transport Workers Union Local 100, which represents drivers and stable workers, argues that the horses receive appropriate care, that the industry provides employment, and that carriage rides remain an enduring tourist attraction. Christina Hansen, a carriage driver and spokeswoman for the union, identified the deceased horse in this week's news as Denise, a 16-year-old male that had spent about 10 years working in New York City. According to Hansen, Denise had passed all of his latest health evaluation tests in March, conducted by the veterinarian assigned to the police department's mounted unit. She said Cornell University's College of Veterinary Medicine would look into the actual cause of death with industry procedures. Denise appeared to be the first carriage horse to die since last summer when Lady, a 15-year-old mare, collapsed at a Manhattan intersection while returning to her stable less than 2 months after beginning work in the city. Health officials later determined that Lady had suffered a thoracic aortic rupture and had an adrenal tumor. City records from last August showed that the carriage industry consisted of 68 licensed owners, 183 licensed horses, and 231 licensed drivers. The union said about 170 of those drivers were actively working at that time. The city regulates carriage fares, setting prices at $72.22 for the first 20 minutes and an additional $28.89 for every additional 10 minutes. Passengers may only board and exit at designated locations in Central Park, where horse-drawn carriages have operated since the 19th century. Opponents of the industry gained support from prominent figures over the past year. The Central Park Conservancy, which manages the park, endorsed a ban for the first time last summer. Former Mayor Eric Adams later backed the idea, while current Mayor Zoran Mamdani has said he supports ending the practice but hopes to reach a solution that addresses concerns raised by union members. Again with the horses in the news this week. This is not good. It's Year of the Horse. So it's sort of sad to see so many unfortunate incidences in the news with horses, including this one out of Las Vegas in the United States. So authorities are seeking to prosecute a 17-year-old as an adult after she was accused of stabbing 3 horses during a major barrel racing competition, an incident that has shaken the equestrian community and sidelined several animals from the competition. The teenager, whose identity has not been released because she is a minor, was arrested after 3 horses were found injured at around 2 a.m. on Saturday, the week of the event, during the Professionals Choice Vegas Super Show, according to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Investigators said the suspect had access to the barn area and is believed to have used a knife to inflict multiple wounds on the animals. Police said the injuries were not life-threatening but prevented the horses from competing. The girl was booked on suspicion of 12 counts related to injuring horses and 3 counts of felony malicious destruction of private property. Clark County District Attorney Steve Wolfson said prosecutors intend to pursue the case in adult court. He said in a statement that these allegations involve deliberate acts of extreme cruelty against defenseless animals and have had a significant impact on the victims, the owners, and the broader equestrian community. So the statement continued to say, animal abuse cases are taken extremely seriously by our office, and Nevada law allows certain juvenile offenders to be prosecuted as adults when warranted by the seriousness of the conduct. He said he believes this case meets that standard. The National Barrel Horse Association previously said the suspect was a competitor participating in the event, which took place over the weekend at the South Point Hotel and Casino in southern Las Vegas. Among the injured animals was Detail, a mare owned by barrel racer Ariel Phillips. Phillips told NBC News that she encountered the teenagers shortly before the attack while spending time with her horse late Friday evening. According to Phillips, the girl approached her stall twice and attempted to start conversations by asking unusual questions. Phillips said, "She's this stalker who has been following me on social media for a long time. She obsessed over Detail and obsessed over meeting me. And because she was also competing, I guess this was her chance to meet us." Phillips, a 34-year-old competitor, said she ignored previous messages from the teenager online and avoided prolonged interaction during the encounter. She described that encounter was weird and said that she just had no business being there. In a Facebook post, Phillips said she left Detail's stall after saying goodnight to the mare. Minutes later, she said, the teenager stabbed the horse 6 times, causing the frightened animal to break loose and run through the barn, spilling blood everywhere. Phillips wrote that the suspect later contacted her boyfriend's daughter, claiming to have discovered Detail wandering outside the stall. Phillips said that this is impossible and emphasized that she latches and triple wraps the latch before she leaves her stall. She said she returned to find the suspect tending to Detail's injuries. Phillips wrote that she rushed down to find her hosing off Detail's wounds, and her blood began boiling when Detail, who she says is a horse who loves and trusts her with her whole life, jumped away when she reached out her hand. She said she immediately suspected this girl, the 17-year-old suspect. The other 2 injured horses were identified by Phillips as Rocket and Saul Good, also known as Sully. Sully had competed successfully just hours earlier, carrying rider Haley Krahenbuhl, 20 years old, to a first-place finish, according to the National Barrel Horse Association. Krahenbuhl could not be reached for comment, and the police have not publicly disclosed a motive in the case. Phillips said Detail continues to recover physically, although the emotional effects of the attack remain evident. Phillips says that Detail is traumatized. Every time she runs away from the approach of her hand, she bursts into tears. She says this is her best friend, an innocent, sweet horse, was brutally tortured for no reason. Making it to the end of an episode makes you a Formosa Fauna friend. Thank you for tuning in, friend. Please, if you have any thoughts about the many stories shared in today's episode, which are somewhat traumatic, send me an email at tristan@rti.org.tw. That is tristan@rti.org.tw. See you next time for Formosa Fauna Fridays here on Radio Taiwan International.